I hit expert in the electric cup with this team. Let me show you how I did it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to showcase a couple sets here that led me up to expert in the Go Battle League. So I've been kind of stagnating between 2500 and 2700 for the past couple of weeks. I mean, I haven't been playing every day, but I feel like I've just been kind of I have absolutely been stagnating there. I think I hit veteran back in Sunshine Cup. So yeah, thankfully I've been able to push just a little bit under 2800 with this team so far. Hopefully I can hit legend in the next couple weeks. I'm hoping I don't have to go all the way down to catch cup, but we'll see. But yeah, so if you've noticed, I'm actually running a very similar line to my previous video where I was leading Alolan Geodude plus Galvantula and Hisuian Electrode. So in this very first match, we have okay alignment. At this point, it's just a matter of like playing out the match, and we're just gonna take a psychic thing here on Golem, knowing that we could just bring in our Hisuian Electrode and potentially just barely finish up the match. I think if I remember correctly, I was like half paying attention that there's a lantern here in the back line, and I have to hit it with a wild charge to win this match. But yeah, pretty insane start. Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. I just barely pull off this very first match. Super clutch, to 1 HP in a dream, essentially there. So pretty crazy start to this video. I made the change to my team because I feel like Alolan Golem is actually probably one of the better potential leads for the Golem line in this cup. So we'll just play out some of these matches. So in this battle, I already made a mistake. So typically when I get a Galvantula lead, they're going to switch out because they don't want to stay in on Golem. It's not going to be good for them. And typically I always safe swap to Galvantula. And in this matchup, they bring in the Luxray, which, you know, Electrode it can kind of do something here, but in the scenario that we're in, it's definitely better to bring in Galvantula as fast as possible as a safe swap, like on the Luxray. That way you can trade shields, and then even if you end up losing, you can still farm it. You can bring in Golem again, just easily farm down the Luxray. And even if you lose Switch in that point, I think it's a little bit better for us. But yeah, because I brought in Electrode, Electrode doesn't really have the best way to throw out charge moves or do fast attack damage, so overall, I think I kind of threw that match purely just by safe swapping into Hisuian Electrode instead of Galvantula. So yeah, these are some of the earlier sets where I'm trying to make adjustments to the team in general. But yeah, for the most part, I like Golem. I was running Geodude, but the problem with Geodude lead is it tends to lose to the Gravelers and Alolan Golems, if I'm not mistaken. So the cool thing about running Alolan Golem is it does good against Hisuian Electrode leads, it does good against Galvantula, it does good against the Graveler leads and other, you know, if it's Geodude or Golem leads. The only lead that you technically lose to straight up is I guess Luxray, but I haven't really seen many Luxray leads since I started playing further in this format. And also the lantern leads, which I felt like I was seeing non-stop at a point. It felt like almost every match it was a lantern lead. But yeah, we can deal with lantern leads with this team. We just need to safe swap to Galvantula. And it's still going to be a little bit of luck if we get good predictions, and also depending on what my opponent is running as well. But yeah, so pretty much I made this adjustment. Here's a Graveler actually. So pretty much the way these matchups with Graveler work, the reason why I like Alolan Golem is because we're always going to win CMP on these Rock Blast. So we always are going to trade shields on the first one, and then it's a matter of we're either going to farm down before they farm me down, or we're both going to die at the exact same time. In this scenario, there's a really good chance that we're running a similar type of team. If not, they might have Lantern in the back. So typically, I like to bring Galvantula to try to get a little bit of an energy lead, and they do end up having the Shadow Galvantula. So I do commit my first shield, and they also commit a shield back at me. And they are running Volt Switch, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I don't know if I just outpaced them here, but fortunately we are able to just remove it. They end up having the Charmchu in the back, which is solid. I mean, we can get a lunge off, and I can just insta-swap into Hisuian Electrode. I'm not really too concerned about this matchup at this point. We can just throw the Wild Charge, and that will be a GG. I mean, that's a cool flex with the Christmas hat. So this is the final battle of this first set, and so far we are 3-1. We do end up getting a mirror match in this lead, so we're just going to stay in, and fortunately we do win CMP on this very first rock throw, or rock blast, excuse me, and we are rock throwing down. At this point it looks like they might potentially just be holding out. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell if we are, I mean, maybe we are. I think they probably won CMP technically, but they just didn't throw the rock blast immediately. So yeah, they end up winning that barely, but I think it's better for us because we are actually like, I think this might in fact be the exact same team I'm running. But yeah, because we get that little bit of energy lead on Galvantula, I think it's pretty good for us. The thing about my Galvantula, as you can see on my IV spread on the chart here, it's one attack IV. It's one of the main reasons why I'm not leading Galvantula in this format. Yeah, see, this is pretty much the exact same line as me, and we end up winning, so GG's. So because I'm running one attack IV on my Galvantula, I'm always going to lose CMP in a direct tie, so I like using it as a safe swap. That way I can get that little bit of energy gain. That way I'm not just straight up losing to every other Galvantula. Alright, here is our next set, and I picked this set in particular because we do end up starting out in a direct mirror again. So again, the way this match plays out, it's really based on CMP with the golems, but since we don't really have the best way to deal with rock throw Pokemon on this team, we really need to use our own golem to help whittle down as much HP as possible. So it is better for us here to try to commit the shield. And I think their golem tried to go for a farm down just barely, and we do end up just getting the rock blast off, which is pretty clutch. But the one downside here is that they do have that slight energy lead now on their Galvantula. I mean, we were going to lose CMP, like I just said, more than likely, even if we did come at the exact same time. But yeah, we're just going to throw that lunge, and it's a matter of getting kind of lucky at this point. I think what I end up doing is once they throw this lunge, I switch out maybe? No, okay, I do throw the lunge, and I think I switch right after. And yeah, actually we get kind of lucky because I think maybe because I am bulkier, I am able to take these hits more from other Galvantula with my Galvantula. And we are able to just kind of play out this mirror match now. And the thing that's nice about this is just because of the fact that we do have a slight energy lead on Energy Ball, so that means we're always going to be connecting our Energy Ball before their Energy Ball. And we do still have Galvantula to kind of clean up in the back with Fury Cutter. So regardless, we will be able to barely live this, and I actually just switched in Galvantula the farm down on Fury Cutter for the BM. So GG's, direct mirror, and we get a Lantern lead here. As I played out through a lot of these matches, I got a little bit better at how I could deal with these type of lines. So it's really important that we always shield against the Lantern. The thing about this matchup is, I mean, there's so many Galvantula that are running Cross Poison plus Lunge. I'm kind of shocked because I never really bait too much on this particular matchup. The fact that they're staying in like this, I could have really punished them with lunges, but I don't know. I feel like every time I try to go for a lunge in this scenario, they don't shield. And it's like more than likely they're going to shield. It's crazy. Like, I feel like definitely could be a little more aggressive with baiting with this team, but I barely bait with the Galvantula switching in on the Lantern, but it feels like they always shield the very first attack no matter what. But yeah, a lot of times you just have to be careful about throwing your energy ball in case they want to switch in and catch your move. But yeah, I mean, we're using Galvantula for those Lantern leads, and it's really like a coin flip at a time because there's a lot of times where they don't shield too, and that energy ball is game changing if it connects right away. But yeah, in this matchup, we just don't really have the best way to deal with it in the end, and I just have to forfeit. So we get a Galvantula lead here, and again, typically we have to be very fast about how we safe swap on the Galvantula. If they bring in Lantern, we bring in Hisuian Electrode. but virtually every other matchup, we need to just bring in Galvantula. If we just see mono-type electric, there's a really good chance that it's Luxray. Sometimes it can be Minu, which is not the worst case scenario to keep in Alolan Golem. But yeah, if it's Luxray, we really need to try to get Galvantula in there as fast as possible. That way we can try to match its energy. And yeah, we just barely die here to the Galvantula. We almost had a lunge, which could have been pretty helpful. I just barely get off the rock throw because we didn't let that Galvantula get enough energy lead, which is very scary for us. Unfortunately, they do just have Lantern in the back, which we can easily deal with our Hisuian Electrode, so it worked out pretty nice for us, fortunately, in the end, and they end up just top lefting because there's not much they can do at that point. So yeah, we get another Lantern lead, and as you see, I will just insta-swap to the Galvantula. There are times where, you know, we have to be a little careful. Like I said, there's really only one matchup I feel like you'd want to switch to Hisuian Electrode. In this scenario, it would be the Lantern. But otherwise, Galvantula is typically what we want to switch to. And yeah, we get off our lunges, and that works out all right. And I think what I decided to do here is just bring in Golem and go for a farm down. I think I just let the Psychic thing go through knowing I can live, but they end up going for Crunch, which is fine. I mean, it's more damage, but at least we don't have a defense drop. They bring in Lantern. I'm just going to throw a Wild Charge to get off a nice chunk of damage here, and then I'm going to switch in Hisuian Electrode. There's a good chance they might have the Galvantula, which they do. So we are going to throw Wild Charge, and I think we are just barely able to get off the second Wild Charge. We are going to commit the shield, knowing that we can get off a Wild Charge here and remove Galvantula, which does allow us to potentially go for a Wild Charge into this Lantern in the end. They do end up going for the Surf, so it's going to be really close if we can pull it off. If they can farm down the Golem before we can farm it down, then they win, which was more than likely the case. GG's. So in this last match, we see a Shadow Magnezone. I feel like as good as this Pokemon can be in this format, I've barely seen it. I've mainly seen almost like the same 3 Pokemon every match. I haven't run Lantern myself, but I feel like almost every person is running Lantern. I mean, it's like the highest ranked Pokemon in this format. Of course, most people who just want to win are going to run it in hopes that that's their best matchup. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of running it personally in this cup. And yeah, this is a crazy start, but fortunately we are able to take these Volt Switches a little bit, and they end up just letting their Magnezone go here, which I think ends up working out alright for us. I safe swap in Galvantula, thinking there might be a chance they have a Galvantula in the back, and we need energy advantage to even flip this matchup at this point with their shield. And fortunately this does work out good because we do get that lunge off, and I'm going to try my best to just remove this Galvantula. They might even commit the shield here, being afraid, and that does work out in our favor because now their shields are down, and we can bring in our own Electrode to gain a slight amount of energy. Actually, I guess I just remove it with Golem, and this is fine because we've done enough chunk damage with even Rock Throw that we just need, if I'm not mistaken, we just need to connect 2 energy balls here and we should be solid. They do connect the first energy ball, they have a little bit of an energy lead, but yeah, it's just a matter of getting 2 energy balls off, which shouldn't be an issue at this point in the match because the only way that they're going to outpace me is if they throw the Wild Charge here. And actually, wait, is that what they do? If they throw a Wild Charge, I think I might be able to just get to the... Oh, wait. That's actually kind of crazy that I was able to barely win this with... Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just barely clutched that because I had energy. But yeah, that was a 3-2 set. I wanted to showcase that because this does bring me pretty close to Expert. And now here's the set that I got Expert with. So we get a nice lead here, Galvantula. They switch in Luxray. A little bit of a slow switch on my end, but not too shabby in general. I mean, this is kind of what we want to be doing. We need to shield this first Psychic Fang. Typically, if we switch fast enough, we can kind of... There's moments where we can actually outpace and get the lunge off first. Not that it makes too much of a difference, but overall, we need to try our best to try to flip this switch if we can. So we are just going to throw our second lunge, and there's a good chance they're just going to shield, just try to farm. and we just barely are able to tie there, which is pretty clutch. And at this point, we can assume they're not going to want to bring in the Galvantula, knowing that they're just going to lose if I bring in Golem. So we do make a great call, and I do bring in Electrode, get a little bit of energy, and because it is a Shadow variant too, we can actually just straight up hit it with a Wild Charge, farm down upon the switch in. And at this point, it's just a matter of doing some chunk damage here with Golem into Lantern, and then I'll bring in my Hisuian Electrode to just finish up the match. There's pretty much nothing they can do, and we do already have a move locked in on Electrode, so we just throw the Wild Charge in this game. So GG's. And yeah, this was pretty crazy because I swear I saw like 10 Lantern leads in a row. I'm not even kidding. Like, I straight up, there was a point where I saw non-stop Lantern leads in this cup. And I knew if I switched my lead, I was not going to see any more Lantern leads. I feel like that's just how this game is. So I just kind of had to stick through it, even if like all the matches were so tough. But yeah, thankfully, I feel like I've gotten better at dealing with the Lantern leads with this team, but when you're playing 10 matches in a row with Lantern lead, it just feels like, what is going on? Like, how unlucky do you gotta be? And some of them were just like straight up hard counters. You know, even when I'd switch in Galvantula, they'd have like Graveler switch in, safe swap or whatever. But yeah, it was just kind of a nightmare. But yeah, let's go Battle League for you. And in this matchup, we do end up having the Lantern here in the back, which you still gotta be careful with. I mean, there's been matchups where I don't shield at all against the Lantern, and they end up still being able to flip. And I end up dying or losing the match with like 2 shields still at the end of the battle. But it just takes a matter of like learning. Oh my gosh, actually this match was kind of crazy. I accidentally tapped off the screen. Hold on, let me pause this real quick because I accidentally tapped off. I'm sure you've done this too when you're playing. I tapped like the bottom on my Android and it went to the other screen real quick. Like it put my game in the background. But it ended up working in my favor because it lowered my HP more, so they couldn't really get like a farm down on me. Which then I could come in, farm down, and yeah, I just barely win this. I mean, maybe it didn't matter that much. But yeah, I feel like I got kind of lucky that I didn't just throw that match there. I thought it was kind of funny that this is my expert set too, and yeah, stuff like that happens all the time, right? But yeah, well, here we are. We shield, I throw my energy ball, and I think this person doesn't shield, which I will say is extremely rare. I never want to bait here, but I feel like there's so many times I could bait. It just stinks because I feel like it doesn't pay off when I do bait. But yeah, here they actually don't shield, which ends up being really nice, and I decided just to kind of... I was a little nervous here. I'm like, well, maybe I should have committed the shield. But I decided just to bring in Golem, and even if I'm not in the best scenario, like, whatever, right? So here I'm going to throw a Rock Blast, and I think I decide maybe I'll try to catch a move, but I'm not fast enough, so I'm going to commit the shield, and I'm going to stay in a little bit longer and try to build some energy and try to catch an energy ball, but I'm not successful on doing so. But we might be able to put ourselves in a position where we can actually straight up farm down Galvantula and hopefully get off a Rock Blast here on the Hisuian Electrode in the back. So we'll see if we can actually do enough damage here to Electrode, because more than likely they don't have the energy ball based on when they switched out, and fortunately we are just barely able to clutch off there. So that was amazing. So we get a Minu lead, excuse me, and honestly, Minu can be a little bit of a problem if we don't play around this team correctly. I mean, we're not taking a lot of damage from the quick attacks, but it's really about shielding this properly, and they do a nice bait move, which is pretty much key to them flipping this matchup. And I decided to switch out, which maybe not necessarily the best decision on my end. They end up going for a shield here on Galvantula, and I pretty much do the thing that does end up costing a lot of matches in this type of format. I get matched up with a Galvantula and I go for Wild Charge, and I lower my defenses really early, which allows this Galvantula to just commit its shield and farm me straight down. So that's kind of a problem. And Unfortunately, we're not in a position where I thought that they didn't have enough energy here, but unfortunately, they do have enough energy to lunge my Galvantula, and that's pretty unfortunate because we maybe could have done something if we could have farmed down their Galvantula and not taken a move. But yeah, with a tack drop, we're not going to be able to beat that Lantern regardless, so GG's there. So yeah, here we go again. A Lantern, and pretty crazy that they just... This is definitely the rare scenarios these people are not shielding. I swear that they never not shield. But I mean, there's a lot of people running Cross Poison, Lunge, Galvantula save swaps, so maybe some people are not... I don't know, I'm just assuming most of these people are expecting the energy ball. That's why they shield. But yeah, it's actually not a bad call, especially for like Galvantula Mirrors to run Cross Poison. It does help flip those type of matchups nicely, especially if your opponent doesn't suspect it. But yeah, this is going to be an insane battle to try to finish out. So I'm going to commit the shield, and I'm just going to try to rack up as much damage as I possibly can. I'm essentially just hoping that this matchup we have some sort of win con with what we have available left. And they end up keeping their Electrode in, and we're going to try to get that shield. We do get one shield here, which is super clutch. And at this point, we don't have any shields. We're not really... We have no options, right? We have no options on what to do. So they bring in the Lantern to try to catch it. And fortunately, we just farm it down. And now it's just a matter of getting the shield on the Hisuian Electrode. And we already had a Rock Blast saved, so that really ends up paying off for us here in the end, that we can just switch directly to Golem and knock it out. And that will be a 4-1 set that finally gets me Expert. And honestly, this season's been very difficult, so hopefully I can keep up this trend here in the Electric Cup. So there we go, we're getting pretty close. And hopefully I can hit Legend here soon. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this, definitely like the video. It helps my content reach a wider audience here on YouTube. And subscribe if you like GBL content. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Sass Squad's getting stronger each and every day. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in. And I'll catch you in the next one. And if you want to watch more Go Battle League content from me, definitely consider checking out this video right here and this video right here.